What's really cool about this record is it's recorded live in the moment. Everything that you're hearing on the record is what actually happened at the time that we were playing the song. And there's not like a lot of overdubs and all that kind of stuff. So there's an energy that comes along with that. And as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to rock and roll delivery, the best way to do it is the same way that you would do it live, which is as spontaneous and in the moment as possible. So that's how the record was done. One of the things about You're a Lie is when you're dealing with people who turn out to not be exactly who you thought they were. In relationships that happens, but in life in general, it's something, especially living in Los Angeles, I see, day in and day out. So I came up with a concept of taking a girl who sort of represented the sort of LA glamour scene and having her transform from this really sort of cute, attractive girl into something completely creepy, When I was making my last solo record, it was a collaboration with a dozen or more singers, right? It was sort of a project that I put together. And during the process of making that record, I had two songs that I couldn't think of who should sing these two songs, like out of all the known singers. And I thought, there's that Miles Kennedy guy, and he's supposed to be really, really good, So I contacted him, and the first song that he sang was a song called Starlight, which I was completely floored when he sent that in. Like I sent him the music, and he sent back a demo with the vocals on top of it. And so I flew him to Los Angeles, and when he and I met, we just hit it off right away, very down-to-earth, laid back, with this brilliant voice and these great lyrics. So we definitely hit it off, and then he did another song called Back from Cali. And at that point, I asked him if he wanted to do the tour that I was going to do to sort of support the album. And it was going to encompass my whole sort of catalog, from Guns N' Roses and Snake Pit, Velvet Revolver, and the whole sort of diverse kind of solo record thing with all the different singers. I had a gut feeling that he was the only person that could do that. So I asked him if he wanted to do the tour, and he accepted. Miles and I started writing on the road. And then when the tour was over, we got together and sort of fine-tuned all this material, and then just went in the studio and banged it out. When I first started thinking about what we're going to call the record, I couldn't think of a phrase or a sentence or a couple words that encompassed what the album was really about. I didn't want to call it /2, so I thought, okay, the default for that situation is find a song on the record that's got a good enough title that could sort of do the trick. And Apocalyptic Love was this sort of tongue-in-cheek subject that Miles had come up with about, love on the eve of the apocalypse, basically. And I thought that would make a good title, and so that was basically it. Standing in the Sun, I don't know if I'm letting the cat out of the bag, but it's probably going to be the next single. And one of the songs that Miles and I collaborated on probably midway through the whole sort of record writing process. And it was really what started out as a simple couple chord changes, and I sent them to Miles at one point and said, check out this idea, and he came back with a really great melody. And it was written pretty quickly, and it was always sort of catchy, but I never realized, what it was going to sound like when we actually recorded it, and it turned out really good. So this will be the first time that we've ever played it in front of anybody. Probably one of the most commonly asked questions when you do a record is there a favorite song? And when you're an artist that concentrates completely on singles, that's easy to do because you've got those one or more, hopefully, songs that you focus on as singles. But in this kind of situation with a rock band, the whole album, not one song is more important than another. So you get very attached to all the material. So it's hard to really pick a favorite. All the songs are different. They have different vibes and different feels, and so each one has its own statement. There's 13 songs on the record. There's 2 bonus tracks, which are really good. I didn't want to force a 15-song record down everybody's throats. And I think in pre-production, there was a total of 17 that we worked on, and so there was 2 that we didn't think really made the cut, and that was basically it. Recording an album live at this point, I think, is probably, to me, it's very traditional, but it's almost old school because the technology has made it so that people can make an album not necessarily knowing how to play. They don't even have to be in the same room. You can make a record not even using a real instrument, for that matter. So that's definitely different than the way, of course, that we approach this record. You know, making a rock and roll record where you're really depending on the dynamics between the musicians and sort of that chemistry and the interaction is an integral part of what rock and roll actually is. I never want to be seen as one of those guys that sounds like they're knocking the evolution of where technology is going. It's all great. The convenience of some of the stuff that's available now, it makes it so easy to be able to do a lot of different things. You just can't lean on it. You can't make it a crutch. So we take advantage of everything that's out there, but we use it sparingly, and we use it in places where it doesn't infect the integrity of the band's performance. Rules that I learned along the way, they don't necessarily apply at this point. Things have changed so much. It used to be, put a band together, hopefully somebody will see you, or word of mouth or whatever, and you get a record deal, record something, go out on the road and see what happens. It's hard for me to give advice except for just to be focused and smart and completely dedicated. You know, you have to be very committed and stay on top of it.